So really are off the wall. Manipulative and coercive and unhealthy, and that's not it. God says, look, I'm giving you new families. I'm giving you new relationships. I'm giving you new people to be intimately connected with. Honor your father and your mother. Enter into an intimate relationship. I promise you, you're going to be in healthy, intimate relationships with other people. You see, this is the whole foundation of the law, because the teachers kept trying to trick Jesus up. So in Matthew, that's a book back, so just a few pages back, Matthew chapter 22, they come to him, and the Sadducees have had their chance. They've been asking questions, trying to trick him again. It's kind of a political campaign thing. They're trying to get that soundbite they can put on the air and discredit Jesus. Take his words out of context, doesn't matter, just something that we can play on the air and go, look, he said this, and people will go, okay, well, he's crazy, we're not going to listen to him anymore. So verse 34 of Matthew chapter 22, when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees with his reply, they met together to question him again. One of them, an expert in religious law, tried to trap him with this question, Teacher, which is the most important commandment in the law of Moses? Jesus replied, You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. Love God, love other people. That's what the whole law, 1 to 4, is about. The promises are about you and God, how you're going to relate. The second 6 are about how you and other people are going to relate together. You and your neighbor. The leaders, again, tried to nail Jesus in the book of Luke chapter 10. They tried to nail Jesus by going, okay, so, this whole thing with the greatest commandments, love your neighbors yourself. So who's my neighbor then? And Jesus sits down and tells them a story. Because the best answers to theological questions are stories. Jesus is all about the story. And he says this story that is a great story to tell in children's church and with your kids, but if you really read it, it's deeply disturbing. I'd rather it wasn't in the Bible. Jesus replied to the story, verse 30 of Luke chapter 10. Luke 10, verse 30. Jesus replied to the story. A Jewish man was traveling on a trip from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him up, and left him half dead beside the road. By chance, a priest came along. But when he saw the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by because he had to get into the new building and he had a ton of work to do. A temple assistant walked over and looked at him lying there, but he also passed on to the other side because he was scheduled to go and do the hospital visitation. Then, a despised Samaritan, you have to understand, Jews and Samaritans did not get along. Arch enemies, rivals, whatever. And when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over to the Samaritan, soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn where he took care of him. The next day he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than that, I'll pay you the next time I'm here. Now which of these 3 would you say was a neighbor to the man who was attacked by bandits? Jesus asked. The man replied, remember that hostility between the Jews and Samaritans? The one who showed him mercy. Can't even say the name. Yeah, that one dude that showed him mercy. That's the one. Then Jesus said, yes, now go and do the same. Jesus is saying right there, the obligation to love is to everybody who needs love. Anybody out there. This is so deeply radical. And it was for those people who stood there looking up at Mount Sinai, hearing God speak. Because this is what God focuses on, is saying, look, your relationships with family is important. Your relationships with people is deeply important, because what? God knows. He has just gotten done decimating the Egyptians and the Egyptian army, taking them out. It would become very easy for them to become an arrogant, stuck-up nation going, look, we don't need to conform to anybody else. We're on our own. And God says, look, no, I'm talking about intimate relationships with you. It comes with intimate, deep relationships with other people. That's what I'm calling you to do. It's a radical call to healthy relationships. God is saying, you will have, I promise you, you're going to have healthy relationships.